Hi, once more. Welcome to the You Can Be Anything podcast. I'm your host, Solange Che, and it's been a fortnight. I have another amazing person here ready to talk to us. I'm blessed that I always go out to find these amazing people to bring up here so they can talk to us and share their experiences. They share their life stories. And what's the goal here? For us to be inspired, for us to learn from other people so that we can find our best versions. At least, even if we are not at the best yet, at least let's get to better. So today I am blessed to have Nadege Ngam. Nadege is a mom. She is also a songwriter, an entrepreneur, and a DBA. I met Nadege years ago when we were in UB at the University of Boya, and she had an amazing young man, son, Demri. Demri was Haley's really good friend. I was looking at pictures of them a few days ago and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for these kids to grow so they can see how they used to be as babies. So one quick thing I want to do first is have Nadege say hi, and I'll tell you something exciting about her that I'd really want to share. So thank you, Nadege. Thanks for accepting my invitation and welcome to the You Can Be Anything podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for inviting me and having me on here. I think there's so much to share and learn from, so I am grateful to be here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for accepting the invitation. So before I go into having Nadege tell us a little bit more about herself, there is one thing that I love to talk about. For all of you who have been listening to my podcast, one of my biggest podcast that's really close to my heart is a podcast where I talked about my Salesforce career. It's a podcast where I talked about how I was able to transition. So when I spoke to Nadege and she told me that she is a DBA, the first thing that came to my mind was her career change. So while in Boya, if I remember right, Nadege, she studied linguistics just like me, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So Nadege is a linguist as well. So this is one thing that I like to throw out there. There's a ton of you listening to me that you just get buried up in the fact that, hey, no, I studied this in university. I have a degree in this. There is no way I can explore. Yeah. This is another Solange. Nadege is another Solange. We left linguistics, the study of languages, morphology, phonology, syntax, all of that. And today she's a DBA. I'm a Salesforce consultant. This is just to prove to you that if you want to do it, you can do it. There is no limitation on the human brain. What you need is that motivation to do what you want to do. So thank you, Nadege. I had to say this because I've watched you in the back and I'm so impressed. I'm happy with what you're doing. I look at you as a mirror of myself because I'm older than you. And I always say, okay, this is another person that has followed the footsteps, has followed, maybe not directly linked to me, but is doing the same thing that I did. And so I congratulate you so much. I hope you enjoy what you're doing. So
I mean, I do enjoy what I'm doing. It's a new field, and and there's always an opening to learn. I challenge myself to take those those new steps and just go with them. So yeah, I'm having fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I needed to bring that up. Okay, Nadege, let's go ahead. Please kindly tell the guests a little bit about yourself. Who is Nadege Ngam?
Nadege Ngam is, first of all, a mom. I have two lovely boys. My world revolves around them. Nadege Ngam is a singer, a musician, songwriter, and entrepreneur. I hail from the Northwest region and partly from the Western region. I schooled in Cameroon and now I'm in the US. And now I am fully a database administrator. So,
awesome. Yeah. Exciting stuff, girl. I'm so happy for you. Let's talk a little bit about 2021, right? 2021, 2020, 2021, all of those were challenging years. One of the things I would like for you to talk about is how has life been for you, right? How has this whole madness in the world, how has it affected you? How was your 2021? What does 2022 look like to you?
I think to me, 2021 was a year of finding myself, basically. Yeah, I went through a lot of self-evaluation and self-love, and just that drive of knowing and loving myself and putting myself first. That was mostly my 2021. And we're in a country where everything is busy. You're always on your feet with the kids, with work, with everything. So you have to get that balance between being a mom, working, and taking care of your own self. But 2021 basically was just that time for me when I realized that I could do more, and I leaped up and went for it. So, and my 2022, I'm basically just wanting to be consistent in the journey that I've started, like my online life. I really want to work on that more and expand on that, because I think I have a story to tell, and I am ready to have the world listen.
Yes, awesome. Talking about your online presence, I noticed that you have a page called My Life, My Story, My Sons. I follow that. I watched your videos on there and learned a couple of things that I've never known about you. And this is one thing I would like for you to share. What inspired you to come up with that page, to start that page in which you speak your truth? What was your inspiration?
So I've always really loved to talk, right? I sometimes I feel like I have a lot to say, but I'm always shy in my skin, and I just keep to myself. But like I said, last year was a year of me discovering myself and finding out. So one thing that really triggered me to speak up, I started my page just talking about sexual assault and sexual harassment, because I went through it and I never got that courage to speak up because of the kind of community that we grew up in. But I want to say that what triggered me to go online and really start a page and talk was, and I'm not trying to bring back any bad memories, but may his soul rest in peace. There was a situation last year with Big Brother, or was it 237, Biggie 237, where Fish had sexually harassed a housemate, and everybody was just so quiet about it. And this thing in me kept telling me, you have to speak up, you have to speak up. And my first show was about that incident, because it really triggered me, and everybody was blaming the girl. So I felt like I wanted to talk about it. And in that also, I discovered that I could also talk about other aspects of my life, like my child. For those who watch me, they know that I have a son who is 5 and he's autistic. I have been praying about it, and I really wanted to educate people in one way or the other. So this page, My Life, My Story, My Sons, is just a page that talks about sexual harassment and also educate on autism and in our community, especially the Cameroonian community.
Awesome. It's great that you have that courage to come out and talk about things like that. It takes some level of determination and, boldness to be able to come out and tell the world something that other people will rather hold within them, like have it as their secret, my life's secret, right? Yeah. Circling back to the sexual harassment part of it. Yeah, unfortunately, we live in a world where people tend to put the blame on, hey, what were you doing in that place? I don't care whether it's male or female. The victim, you have people who always come in and ask that question, like, hey, why were you there? Why were you dressed like that? Like those questions that try to give a reason for them to have been assaulted, to have been sexually assaulted. That I find that really irritating. And I know that when I watched your video, that's one thing that you spoke about. You were really trying to debunk that whole idea that somebody is a victim of sexual assault, and what people say, like, oh, wait to be fair, do for day. Hell, yeah. Why were you even dressed like that? Oh, why did you even go there? And I remember having read something in one of the books I read about, and the person made mention of a woman or a man has a right, even if they follow you home and take a shower and get in bed with you, They have a right at that point to say, hey, you know what? I do not want to have sex with you. Because they are there doesn't give you the right to force them. And that has always lived with me. So it just always resonates with me. And I don't know if there is anything more you want to share on that. You did not, I'm not sure I ever heard about your specific experience. We don't need to talk about that, but how do you feel when you hear about all of these sexual assault situations and having people try to justify why they did it, considering that you have been a victim? How does that make you feel?
I'll go right back to the situation that made me turn on my camera, which was that house situation.
Yeah.
It kind of triggered me because there was a part where the guy said, do you even know what sexual assault is about? Do you even understand what it is like? I have a sister who went through real sexual assault. Words like that just make me so mad and upset, because I'm like, when we talk about sexual assault, it's a spectrum, right? There's a whole different level of it, and you cannot expect to do something to someone and tell them how to feel about it.
That's right.
So if you do it, you should be ready for the consequences and then not try to defend yourself. The least you can do is, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going to make you feel that way, and I promise it's not going to happen anymore, and life goes on. But when you try to justify yourself, is so triggering to everybody who has been through that situation, because we know that at the end of the day, it circles back to the victim, and they're always the ones to blame.
Yep, that justification is what kills me. That justification for sexual assault just kills me. So I definitely understand why you were triggered. I definitely understand why you brought that up. Yeah, on the other side of it, you talked about your son Levi.
Yeah.
I've never met him. I've only heard you talk about him. I saw his birthday pictures. He just turned 5.
Yes.
Happy birthday to him again.
Baby.
You deciding to come online and talk about an autistic child. We have seen it in the world. We live in the US today. We've seen people, they come out with their kids and talk. But we also know that our community, there are people in our community who have autistic children that you will never see. They don't talk about those children. They lock them up in places again, they have their reasons. It is a family decision, right? Nobody has a right to question them. It is their will. Nadege, you decided to bring Levi online. You decided to talk about Levi. And how does it feel? Online is a risky place. Social media is a dirty place. How does it feel? Don't you worry about those people who troll? What made you do this?
Social media is a risky place, it's a dirty place, but there is a lot that I personally have learned on social media.
Correct.
I'm not out on social media for the bad ones or for the people who come and throw words. I'm out there for that mother that thinks that she's not doing enough, that mother that doesn't know what to do, or those parents that are looking for someone else who is going through the same thing, who can enlighten them. And I cannot say that I know everything about autism. I'm still learning. That is why I would do my research. I would go watch other parents and watch other things online, because I want to learn. So I am online to learn and to teach. And if there is any negativity that comes with it, you don't always have to accept it. You open up yourself to negativity if you accept it. Now, I am not out there for that. And I have thought about it really well. I have prayed about it. And I decided to put Levi out there. Mind you, it's not just putting autism out there as a bad thing. I decided to put it out there as a good thing, because for me, the way I see the development of my channel is talking about the milestones that Levi has achieved, giving positivity to people out there who are going through that, and knowing that you can use your child's special gift to make them become something, you know. And Levi is also out there. He can get, you know, deals, brand deals. He can be a model. I mean, you've seen Levi. He's a handsome little guy, you know. So I'm putting him out there for him and for myself and for every other person who needs that help or who can help me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a brave step. And the mindset you have going online and talking about Levi is an amazing one. It's not just about putting Levi out there. It's more about being an inspiration, being that touch point for other people who do not have the courage you have. So another parent watching you, another parent that has an autistic child watching you, they don't have to bring their own kid, but they're learning from you. So the kind of things you come and you talk about Levi, talking about his milestones. Hey, Levi did this and this is how I handled it. It's a lesson. So I really, really appreciate the mindset you have for that. I bet you that personally, I would be a little scared because negativity hits me.
I am. And let me tell you something very, very sacred. You know, I have had both on my talks on sexual harassment and autism. You cannot imagine the tens of parents who contact me behind and say, hey, I watched your show. Thank you for speaking up for me. Thank you for being a voice. Even on my talk on sexual harassment, I have people who reach out to me behind and like, I want to tell my story. I'm going to write it down and have you read it out just so I feel like I put it out there, even without my name, you know. So those are the things that push me, not the people who come and try to. And I've also had people who have contacted me and said, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you putting this child out? And, you know, but what do you choose? Do you want the positive or the negative? You pick.
Yep. That is powerful. I think that is really, really good. And to think that somehow in one of my episodes, I talked about feedback, right? One thing that our people don't do a lot is give public feedback. They'll call you, they'll reach out to you. They will not follow the page, but they will come to you and talk to you on your phone. So this is me giving a call out to all of you who have learned anything from Nadege's page, it says my life, my story, my sons. The way that you can make Nadege want to bring more, right? This is content she's creating. This is her being able to bring out life lessons that we can learn from. You sit back there and you're not even sure of what to do. And then someday she comes and she tells you about how she handled that situation. I think it is a good thing. And the best way that we can support someone like this is by support her page, right? Follow her page, like it, subscribe to it. When she makes those videos, let's comment, like let's have a chat with her. She's brave enough to go live. I always tell her, the first I saw her live, I was like, wow, I don't think I have the heart yet to go on live, but I really love what you're doing. So let's make it interactive. This is a learning experience for us all, whether parents or not, or non-parents. It is a learning experience. And we want to make sure that in as much as she's dedicated to do what she's doing, or in as much as you, Nadege, you're dedicated in doing what you're doing, I believe that you also want to be able to see that support that comes from our community.
Yeah, I really, really look forward for that support. I mean, I always just have that mindset that our community doesn't, you know, really support much. People will tell you they like, they share, and you don't see them, and you know, and they're the first to criticize sometimes, and it really makes you wonder if you should be putting out those contents. But regardless, I keep going, and it will help to just share. Bring someone else to watch, you know, it really helps. It helps more than you all think. So
awesome. I want to share something sweet about Levi. Can you please tell us about a time when Levi did something that maybe you thought like, oh, what are you doing, baby? But it turned out to just make you feel that pride of a moment, just a little Levi story. Just something sweet about Levi. I know you have a ton.
Man, Levi is oh gosh, which one do I pick? Levi, God. So like I always say, Levi is a lover of music, right? And sometimes you would hear him. So we got him a piano of his own. He has it in his room. Sometimes that's what he uses to just calm down himself. And there was a time he was in there just hitting buttons and just playing things. I'm like, what? Why do you want to break that thing? And I went in there. The guy has a whole music sheet out because he has a little book, and he was just trying to play and follow the whatever the road there. He's 5. He knows every sound on the keyboard, every little sound. He plays it in his own way because his head is in 100 places at a time.
Yes.
But when I go in there, sometimes I actually understand what he's playing, and I'm like, wow. We've never taught him how to play the keyboard. We're working on it. I just started working on it, but before that, he was already playing. So, yeah, he has his own things. He says things, and he would hold you and kiss your eye. Basically, it has to be your eye, like right here where he see the hair. But those are the sweet moments where when he's down, he doesn't do those things. So, and I'm just so appreciative, and I'm just grateful for everything. And yeah.
Awesome. Do you care? How do you manage it when you get frustrated? Yes, I know he's autistic. What happens is that he would throw tantrums. I know from my little readings about autism, when he gets like that, how do you manage it?
Somebody just asked me this question this morning, and it's someone who has an autistic child, because she said that's what she's dealing with her own child.
Yeah.
I am lucky that Levi doesn't really have those tantrums, but he does have those moments that frustrate me. Remember, aside from the fact that he's autistic, he's a 4-year-old. So the things that every 4-year-old would do.
Yes.
He's doing that times 10 because his emotions and everything is times 10, So when I get frustrated most of the time, I would send him to play his piano because that's where he can get his frustration out. Usually he has his tablet, but I wouldn't lie, I'm an African mother. So he knows. There's that look. When I give him that look, I don't care. People say, oh, autistic children don't know when you're happy or sad. Levi knows when I am pissed. And when I look at him, he either just goes and sits down somewhere and just relax because he knows that papa can come later on.
Yes.
So aside from that, we need to be able to discipline them and love them at the same time. Yeah.
Yep, that's a great approach. Being able to say, yes, your child is, or your son is, and you're still able to like bring him to other. I know the look you're talking about. I have those looks, Haley, with those looks, it will not work. So yes, I have those looks. It is one of the powers of an African mom. I've actually met, a Caucasian woman who told me that, hey, Solange, that thing is not African. I do the look with my kids. So I'm like, I'm sorry, Africans took over this. The look, it really, really works. So that's nice. I appreciate you for being such a strong woman. I knew from the days of Demri back in Boya, having a kid in university was no candy. It was none. So I'm not surprised that you're being such a great mom to an autistic child, because I watched you take care of Demri when we were in UB, and I hail you. I congratulate you a lot. I admire you. And I'm sure that there's a lot of women out there who sit back and look at you and they're like, oh, this girl is a strong girl. So just keep doing what you're doing. And again, thank God you are Christian, you believe in God. He is always watching over us. So just keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about how do you feed yourself information, right? There are other people listening to us here that might have gone through sexual assault. They might have an autistic child. You are not. Again, how do you find the resources? These things don't just come to your mind. Your doctors don't tell you all of these things. You have to go out and fetch some of the information you need in order to be able to do what you do. What do you use? What are some of the resources you use to get this information?
So my number one resource is my son, Levi. Everything I need to know about his specific case is what he shows me. So that's my number one resource, I cannot go off of another person's because autistic children are so different. You have an autistic child who can talk and who can do other things, and others cannot talk and they cannot. So Levi is my number one resource. Aside from that, I did a show, I think 2 weeks back, where I said, you need to talk about it, tell your story so other people don't tell it for you, because they never tell it as accurately as you would, you know. You're the only one that can do justice to it. So I only, most of the time, research or watch videos from people that are going through the situation. For example, I would only watch a video about an autistic person because some of them would tell their stories as they grow and what they would have wished that people knew about them and stuff like that. Yeah. So I only watch those kind of videos, or mothers who go through that, or mothers who go through what I'm going through. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resource on Google and stuff, but I don't want some doctor telling me what he read or what he studied, because that may not apply to my child.
That's right.
I would only watch a video. There's this lady from Ghana who has I think My Autism Story, something like that.
Yeah, and an autistic daughter. I think I've seen that.
Autistic daughter, Nanaya. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I always follow her because that is a resource in its own. So she would tell you about her diet and what she does, and they're African, we're African, so it's a little more understandable. So yeah, that's where I get my resource. But my number one resource
is your kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you find relatable videos, you watch them, and it's important. It's good to hear that Levi is your first resource. He's the one teaching you how to take care of him, and in turn you're telling other parents out there how you're doing it. It could work or it could not work for them, but you're putting your story out there.
And one last thing, mind you, when you go to a doctor for help for your child, they don't go off what they read online. They go off what you tell them. So they ask you, does your child do this? Does it do this? So they can have a program that fits your child, you know? So your child should be your number one resource.
Okay, awesome. That's great. You said it in a really good way. I've never even thought of it in that way, but that is an amazing way to have said that. Wow, that's great. That is Nadege of the past. When we talk about what happened to you when you were younger, Levi is Nadege's son, but there is Nadege, right? There is you as a person. Please kindly talk to us a little bit about, give us a synopsis of what you plan. What are you looking forward to? What are your key interests this 2022? Like, what is your, I don't like to call it a goal because I'm not a goal setting person, but what is it? Like, can you just give us a short brief of what 2022?
So 2022 to me, I just really want to be consistent with myself and with my work. I like I said, I'm a musician, and I am planning on doing more on that and being consistent in that. One bigger thing that I've really decided to do this 2020 is taking care of me as a person, because I realized that Levi is not fine, Demri is not fine, my work is not fine if I'm not fine.
Yep.
No, so I decided to put myself first so that every other person that is around me can tap from that goodness that I'm putting into myself. I can only give what I have.
There we go.
And if I'm happy, what I give out is happiness. If I'm sad, what I give out is going to be sadness, and I refuse to be sad. So for this 2022 is just basically be consistent in myself, loving myself, knowing myself, exploiting and exploring every goodness in me.
Please kindly bring out some more. If you don't know Nadege, one of the most amazing things about her is the fact that she sings. Nadege, you are a beautiful singer. Your voice is amazing. I listen to you. You sing all the songs, but I cannot forget when I listen to you sing Cameroon Makossa. I bet you that it melts my heart. You used to do a lot of like short videos with Herman. And I remember then I was still in Germany and Herman would share them. I don't know why you couldn't do those frequently anymore, but I loved, I enjoyed them. There is music in you. You have a beautiful voice. Tell us about that part of you. What specifically are you doing in that side? And please write some more songs and sing more.
I am working on, I think 2020 is going to be a great year.
2022.
2022. I'm like 2 years back. 2022 is going to be a wonderful year. Right now, I just finished shooting a video, and we're actually, just before I came on with you, I was editing the video and, just making sure that it's great, and so that my followers and viewers and lovers really get the best out of me. But for this year, I am planning, I have so many songs already written, but I am financing, I am doing everything by myself, so I have to go really wisely so that I put out the best. And I am out here also looking for anybody who is ready to sponsor. If you hear
sponsor, that's the word I was looking for. And we need sponsors.
But I have kind of shifted now to just fully gospel or inspirational music, because over the years, I've just seen the goodness of God in my life, and just all the wonderful things that otherwise would not have been happening if not for him. So I want to use this voice that he gave me to give him back the praise and the honor. And I hope to touch somebody out there. So,
oh, yes, you are already. I already told everybody you are already. Even singing Makosa, you touched people like me. So not to talk of, if I have to listen to your voice in a worship song, I bet you that it's going to be amazing. Great. I wish you all the best. And again, what we do is we put ourselves out here. This is you telling your story. This is you telling the world about your experiences and what you're open to. And what we look forward to is more good things happening to you. And this is a You Can Be Anything podcast, right? You don't get off my show without telling somebody something that could just be life-changing. And what I always say is that not everybody is going to find what you say now key, but there is that one person out there that just needs to hear you say something to them, Nadege, that is going to change their lives. So please, I'm gonna put you on the spot to talk to somebody out there. The mic is yours.
Okay. To anybody out there who is looking on doing anything out of your life, you may not be at that place where you want to be, or you may not have the resources that you think you need. But what I want you to know is, don't give any excuses. Use what you have right now. This is the learning process. A lot of people always think that when you start anything, you just get so good at it. But no, the first couple of months, you're going to be learning. So use what you have to learn, so that when you become better, you can now afford the resources that you don't have. And never think that you're too bad to do anything. There's one saying that I have created, and I say it at the end of every show that I have, is, even the finest wine came from fermented grapes. So no matter where you are, even the finest wine came from fermented grapes. Always remember that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadege. I appreciate you so much for making out the time to come talk on the You Can Be Anything podcast. One of the reasons I reached out to you was because I found your story really touching. I found what you're doing very inspirational. And we didn't even get to talk so much about your career change path, but that is also something that, after talking to you and I learned about it, I found it really, really amazing. I appreciate you for taking out the time to come out here and talk to my guest. I'm calling on you all, dear listeners, to follow Nadege's page. I'm going to add it to the description of this podcast, and you can follow her. By the way, I know you are on Facebook. I follow you on Facebook. Where else can the listeners find you, Nadege?
I am on YouTube and I am on Instagram. On Instagram is Nadege26. So I'm going to give you all the handles so that you can paste it, because it's a little complicated when I'm saying that. Yeah, but I'm going to give them to you.
Okay, great. I'm going to add all of that information in the podcast description so you can follow Nadege, reach out to her. And together with my guest, Nadege, I say thank you for sharing your story. I say thank you for spending the time this afternoon to talk to me, considering that you have a whole lot of responsibility, but you still created this time to come talk to us. I appreciate you. Dear listeners, thank you for spending time with us today on the You Can Be Anything podcast. For those of you who have been able to leave a review for this podcast, I appreciate you. For those of you who haven't yet, I get your calls, I get your text messages, but most importantly, I'm looking out for written reviews. So if you can go ahead and leave a written review on Apple Podcasts, on Audible, on Facebook, on Google, whichever one works for you, I would really appreciate it. It is a way that will help the podcast to reach a wider audience. I appreciate you, and remember, be good to each other. Have a blessed one, and bye-bye.